is Russ Katz. You can reach me at www.thevinylrevivers.com. You can also call me 301-848-4100.
This is DIY Hi-Fi Life. On this episode, a very special episode of DIY Hi-Fi Life, we look at possibly the best phono preamp on earth. This is going to be a big one. Today on DIY Hi-Fi Life. Hi, Chris Barker here for DIY Hi-Fi Life. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate all the subscribers and comments and likes for my previous videos, and I am truly grateful for everyone that's watched my videos. Today I've got a very special video review of what could possibly be the current best phono preamp on earth. And I want to give you an overview of the product and get into some of the details of why that just might be the case. So, some background. The preamp in question is the Gold Note PH-1000 phono preamp. This is a feature-packed product built by Gold Note of Florence, Italy. I've been using a number of Gold Note products for the past several years now. I started with the PH-10 phono preamp that I was very enamored with, and I have also purchased the Gold Note Mediterranean turntable, which I am also thoroughly enjoying. Gold Note has now released this year their ultimate statement for phono preamplification. I think I can safely say if you can't get your cartridge set up and optimized correctly with this phono stage, you have a very unique, rare phono rig that I do not know about. This phono preamp is rather dear, as they say, in price. It starts at $16,000 for their ultimate preamp, which is also can function as a line stage and be a direct connect to your amplifier. So if you're an all analog person just spinning records, this could be your solution. There's another version available, which is $12,000 and is just a phono stage, but retains all the other features. Finally, a little bit more modest in price is the PH-10 phono preamp, which is what I've been using for several years, and has a very nice subset of the features of the PH-1000. Let's talk about Gold Note for a moment. Gold Note is an Italian audio company founded about 20 years ago, based in the beautiful city of Firenze, or Florence, as I guess us Americans call it. And you will recognize Florence for kind of being one of the birthplace of the Italian Renaissance. And as I was thinking about the PH-1000 and how to kind of describe the product, I started thinking about some of the beautiful designs that have come out of Italy, and my mind started going towards who really is the embodiment of art and science, and none other than Florence's native son, Leonardo da Vinci. 500 years ago, this Renaissance man combined both exquisite beauty in painting and sculpture and design, but also explored the outer limits of human knowledge in the science and trying to understand that aspect as well. He was the true embodiment of the Renaissance. I think Gold Note has really taken that heritage and embodied it in their products. Their products are truly beautiful, but they also feature 21st century design and electronics. So these are really the ultimate combination of beauty and brains, so to speak. As a moment, we'll go in and dig into the features of this product, but briefly, this has 3 phono inputs, so you can have 3 turntables, 3 tone arms, magnetic cartridge, or moving magnetic, or moving coil. It has a gain, default gain of 40 dB for the moving magnet, 65 dB for the moving coil, plus an adjustment of gain factor from negative 9 dB all the way up to plus 9 dB. So you have a total of 74 dB, I believe, on the upper end if you're using a very low output moving coil cartridge. The loading has about 10 steps of loading from about, I think, 10 ohms all the way up to 100K. That's phenomenal. There's just not very few phono stages that have that range of loading possibilities. And of course, in moving magnet, you also have capacitance loading as well. Interestingly, also, if you're still having difficulty, which I find it a little hard to imagine, but if you're still having difficulty getting the optimized loading for your cartridge, there are 2 line inputs that could actually be used as just standard line inputs for a CD player, whatever, a source or a streamer, that kind of thing. Hence, you could use this as a preamp. Or if you don't want to use it for that, you can actually load in RCA resistance loading jacks, so you can put in the exact resisting load that you want for a given phono input. The flexibility here is amazing. To top it off, this is also firmware updatable using a computer, so that any updates that come along that Gold Note figures out, they can make those available to you as well. In all, this is just an amazing, fantastic package. It's just hard to fathom that there's any other product that I know of out there that has this. Now, you would think all of this would be daunting because typical phono preamps have a lot of dip switches and kind of cumbersome ways to make selections. Gold Note has again embraced the 21st century and comes with a very nice TFT display screen and what they call the SK knob, which allows you to use one knob to both change and adjust all of the settings. So you have a very nice graphical user interface and one knob selection to make those changes very quickly and easily. Also, it comes with a remote control, so it's even easier to use from your comfortable listening position to make changes on the fly. Very good. This product it bowls me over. Okay, well, let's talk about the specifications and then getting to the sound. The Australian Hi-Fi Magazine Review has done an extensive written review of this product, and using their THD plus N, THD distortion plus noise figures, I was able to calculate the synad of this unit to make it kind of transferable to other products. I calculated an 86 dB synad for this product. I compared that to Audio Science's review of all of the phono preamps they've tested so far, and this ranks is right there tied for second place of all preamps they've tested. I think you can pretty much guarantee any noise and distortion, if you hear that through this preamp, it's not in the preamp, it's coming off your LP or vinyl itself. This is the noise and distortion are way below what is really in phono LPs today. A few other features I'd like to talk about with the PH-1000 include a dedicated headphone preamp. So you can listen with your headphones if that's how you like to listen to your stereo. So it gives you another option to that as well. Also, a dedicated output for a tube buffer stage. Goldnote sells a couple of tube buffer amps that you can purchase as well, and that gives you the option to add the sonic bliss of tubes into your system if you so desire. Finally, probably the most extensive feature of the PH-1000 is the ability to set the EQ curves for individual records. This feature relates to the fact that pre-1955, many labels, producers of records, used their own curves before things got standardized. Approximately between 1955 and 1960, the RIAA standard became the overriding standard for Phono LP discs. But earlier than that, there were some discrepancy and different EQs in use. Goldnote has a very extensive document on their website I'll link to that lists all of these different EQ curves and the treble, roll-off, bass shelf, and bass turnover frequencies that you can make adjustments using the PH-1000. It's very extensive and it's incredible what is possible in this regard. I guess I should talk a little bit about my system so you understand where I'm coming from and maybe can relate it to your system as well. Starting off, as I mentioned before, I'm using the Donatello cartridge on the Mediterraneo turntable, as well as my HW19 recently restored turntable with the wand tone arm and a Zoo DL103 Denon cartridge. Also, I'm feeding those two turntables into the PH-1000, and I've set the recommended load for the Donatello cartridge to 470 ohms, and I've actually gone with a 1,000 ohm load for my Zoo Denon cartridge. That seemed to really be the sweet spot after a bit of trial and error. All of this is being fed from the PH-1000 via XLR output into the XLR analog inputs on the Emotiva XMC2 processor. The Emotiva processor has a reference stereo mode, which is an all analog connection. So the input to the processor goes directly to the volume control, and so there's no DSP processing at all. It's pure stereo, pure analog, and that works very well. And I'm outputting to a Cherry amplifier, multi-channel amplifier from the Digital Amp Company out of Pennsylvania, and that's driving my Martin Logan Expression 13A speakers. This is a very revealing system, and I think it's up to the task of exposing any issues in any component very easily. Okay, now's the segment that probably most of you have been waiting for, is how exactly does this sound? Well, in a word, it's fantastic. I just can't really say otherwise, but let me go into a few records I listen to, and maybe that'll help you understand. For example, I always like to start off with this record from a band called the LA4, Going Home. It was on the Nimbus label. This is a direct-to-disc record of a jazz quartet, impeccably recorded. The side 2 starts out with a tremendous drum intro, a really good test for both the imaging dynamics of a system. So it's always my go-to disc. Another disc going in a completely different direction, maybe something John Darko, for example, would enjoy listening to, I'm sure he's familiar with, is the record by Thomas Fellman, Gute Luft, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I guess it was a soundtrack to a TV series called 24 Hour Berlin. Very interesting, glitchy electronics, synthesizer sounds. What was really neat about this is how enveloping the sound was, the imagery. This is throwing sound way outside the speakers. My dipole, Martin Logan's, of course, helped very much, but the imagery, it almost made, even though I was listening to two speakers, made me feel I was listening to a surround sound, even though I had no processing going on. The sound was just enveloping my ears. It was incredible. Another record I go to a lot is the great classic Weather Report album, Tailspinnin'. I like to use the track Badia on this, which starts off with a very cool, I would call it a Moroccan Sirocco wind sound with African percussion instruments panned very hard right and left in the sound field. Really very neat sounds, and then synthesizer and bass in the middle. Really good test as well for listening. Another record, maybe off some people's radar screens, is a record by Bill Connors. Bill Connors, some might know, was the original guitarist for Returned Forever with Chick Corea and Stanley Clarke. He's gone on to have a solo career and put out these albums in the late 70s. I call this almost heavy metal jazz guitar. It's just a trio, but it really pounds hard. Good recording, bass and kick drum, really very palpable, and this record really is a good test for that kind of sound. Another interesting record, maybe off people's radar, is called Rain Tree Crow. This is actually the last Japan album, a group named Japan out of England in the 80s, very popular, led by David Sylvian. And this is a remaster from Abbey Road, and it sounds excellent. Lots of good noises and things on that record as well. And finally, another record that I like to listen to, a bit of ear candy from the band Checkfield, who were recorded for the American Gramophone label back in the 70s. This is a great record called Distant Thunder. It's so well produced with great guitar, flute, orchestral sounds, and sound effects. Really a good test of your system as well. Very good test. And so those are some of the records of many that I listened to and enjoyed on this system. And I did enjoy them thoroughly. And I guess the question would be, which is the better setup, the HW19 or the Mediterraneo? I think they sounded very similar, just different flavors, both equally very good. If I had to give an edge, maybe I'd throw it to the Mediterraneo with the Donatella Gold into the PH-1000, kind of if the PH-1000 kind of recognized that it was actually hooked up to its stablemate Mediterraneo turntable. A little bit of a Italian synergy, if you will. Otherwise, I enjoyed both turntables equally well, and the sounds were very good. So the next question would be, maybe from people following along, is this a perfect product? It's a darn good product. I think aspires to be a nearly perfect product, but there are a few little niggles that I encountered that maybe Gold Note can address. I'm interested in my research that I found that it's popular around the world in different cultures that artisans will intentionally add a small little defect into their artistry just to acknowledge that only God is perfect. I thought it's a very interesting. They'll put maybe a stray thread into some kind of cloth or some other small defect that overall doesn't detract from the artistry. And the one niggle I had with the PH-1000 was regarding the remote control. It's a perfectly functional remote control. It's nicely labeled and laid out, but it is a multi-purpose remote control because it will also operate other Gold Note products, which I think makes sense, and I understand the economy of scale there. But one thing I found a little annoying was the mute function. It's very handy to have a mute function, but when you mute the PH-1000 and then want to unmute, you're always greeted with a screen asking, do you really want to do that? The reasoning there, of course, is if you're using this not as a phono stage with a preamp, but as a dedicated preamp right into your amplifier, they want to make sure that you're not going to blast your speakers, into oblivion. And so I understand the warning. I just wonder, though, it takes then 2 clicks to get it out of the mute, which is an annoyance, not a big annoyance, but I'm wondering if there's a more elegant way that could be handled once you've got it set up in your system, especially if you're using it just as a phono stage as I was. Hopefully, maybe a firmware update can address that. have it, the Gold Note PH-1000. I hopefully have given you enough information to maybe think about whether I'm right or not about declaring this possibly the best phono preamp right now in 2021. I'd love to see your comments, and I'm sure there are going to be comments down below about what other people think is truly the best phono preamp. But again, when responding, think about the totality of the features of this product. I think its performance electronically, the sound performance that I observed, and then the huge feature set of this product really speak highly to the fact that this could be the best phono preamp out there running if you really are looking for kind of an end game, as that word is overused, type product. So yeah, please respond to me down in the area down below. Of course, while you're looking down below, please look at the more information area in the description area, because I've got a lot of links to all sorts of information, those white papers I mentioned and other things that you might want to take advantage of, free music and other things that'll help this channel out. So please take a look at that. So here we are at the end of this video, and I'd like to make a special thank you to Gold Note, of course, and to Russ Katz of the Vinyl Revivers and the Audio Hunters, who very graciously offered me the loan of this preamp to let me give it a listen and do a review like I'm doing today, and I'm very grateful to him. He is a purveyor of great hi-fi, including Gold Note and other brands such as Kef, and you could do no better than contacting Russ to talk about your hi-fi system. He's very customer focused and will help you get the right component product in your system. And I'll leave the links down below for contacting him as well. So again, much thanks to Russ. I really do appreciate this very special opportunity. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll stay tuned for more good videos like this. Things just keep popping up that I think will be very interesting. And this is Chris Barker for DIY Hi-Fi Life, signing out.
Thanks for watching. This is Russ Katz. You can reach me at www.thevinylrevivers.com. You can also call me 301-848-4100. I'm here to help. Hopefully I can make your record sound great again. Thanks.